You've never done that?
Why is that?
No, they're mine. That's all.
How you want to fix this ordinance? Because we're going to put it on a first reading next month.
I
We got 4 minutes.
think Jerry's was right.
We'll cross off in.
Are you okay with maybe putting one of those roads out there?
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
well put.
it's the
Well put.
person who is a homemaker that will find a way to
Mhm,
violate the rule.
mhm.
You could have this room full of rules, and 99.9% of the residents in the village would not violate a single one, even though they've never read it. Because they're all logical, common sense. But the problem will be that someone will find that one little thing and either twist it around and they make it so that you didn't say that. You didn't take that.
Which is exactly what Mr. O'Leary said, that when we put this on readings, you're gonna have people here.
Yep.
Because when this was in a work session last year, we had these people show up. And it was a big stink.
Yeah, she'll generate enough interest that people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, you
All right, so-
change it, they will come,
So,
right?
Mr. Leary, you'll be writing up for the first reading.
Well, I think what I'd like to do is get together with at least one council person and the chief to go over this and figure out what we want to combine and put in here before I send it out as a draft ordinance. So,
And as far as the fires go, currently it says you're not allowed to build any fires except in grills or fireplaces. Okay, so if we just leave that this way it is,
D says that, doesn't it?
that was the, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought,
I mean, that's what our current one says also.
right.
So it's just, nothing's changing there.
that's why I suggested if you put the grill down there, that's permanent, then that's the only grill they can use.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. The only place to put it would be behind the steel break wall, okay? The problem we have is when the sand washes out, you've got to drop. Then you're up on that ledge.
Yeah.
It's real close to the bank. We really don't want fires close to the bank. I mean, honestly, that's why I think we leave it alone. If someone wants to really make marshmallows, they can bring a little hibachi down there and do their marshmallows.
Bring it home.
And it's been like that forever.
Yep.
And then they bring it home and clean up their
Do a little
mess.
rental business at the top of the.
If they
I
throw
thought
their,
about that. I thought about that.
if they throw their coals on the beach, the chief will yell at them. That's it.
This, I didn't rewrite your whole ordinance. I just added to it and changed some of the language. If
That's why I'm
if
saying-
you'll each take the old ordinance and this and just compare them.
That's what we're trying to do here. We're just.
And
Yeah.
just,
Okay, so take out N. Okay,
Okay.
all right. So Mr. O'Leary, we'll talk about who wants to meet with Mr. Leary, the
Right.
chief then
Or
about.
if you want to make recommendations from reviewing it, that's fine.
We
I'll
just
do it
each-
that way. I just think it's good to get council's input before I put the ordinance together. If there are specific things that you want to include separate than what's been discussed,
Should we email you?
either myself or the chief.
what's else?
Take out L as well, then,
Yeah.
you know, like, as far as adults, go, not minor, adults over.
Yes.
Yeah, take out L and N.
Yeah, that's, I think those are the only changes we had anyway.
That'll make your
That
one
might be a hill
person
that I would
happy.
done.
It'll make your one person happy.
No, I know a lot of people that go down there after dark. I mean, you know, I know because they call me for my beach.
H. That's the language that I added because of the alcohol event last one.
Yeah, but I think
Sounds like that's gonna be a whole nother
a
thing.
separate. Stroke with that. Right, Mr. O'Leary, if we want to go that route, it's more thoughtful and. Time put into it.
Well, I mean, the way it's written. If you want to bring a cooler with beer in it and sit here at the pavilion, it doesn't say,
It's for
oh, it says for a private rental. So cross out the private rental. I mean, if you're having, you know, a lot of people at your house for a birthday party and you decide it's a nice sunny summer night and you want to go down and watch the sunset. And you don't want to go down the stairs because you have elderly people that are guests at your house. I mean, can't you sit, if you take out the rental event part, you can sit here.
All right, we gotta start the meeting, don't we?
You
well,
just
let's-
have to make sure that you indicate that if it is a rental, that it's for the renters. Because what you don't want to do is have a bunch of residents go. I'm allowed to be up here, right?
Yeah,
All right,
So,
so-
but we should go
Rentals
to our
only.
next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the prayer. Grant us, O Lord, light in to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it for our directives for the common good, for thy honor and glory. Amen. Thank you. Call to order, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Present.
Bring your mics down, please. Okay. Now we'll go to public comment. Wouldn't work for our comments. Commissioners, your community leaders. April is our National Child Abuse Proclaiming April 20, and it goes on to say other this is passed the school
No. First part is it's on there, just all of a sudden it dropped out.
Yeah, well,
Then you can add the YouTube connection. I sent that to you.
Okay, next, reading and disposition.
Did you want to give her the opportunity for,
Oh, yeah, do you have something you want to
Any
say?
public comment?
Public comment?
I was just gonna ask you about further information about that.
didn't we talk about that?
You sent me, you left me a voicemail about it, yeah,
Okay.
and I thought you said you were calling. back.
So at the last meeting, you had asked about a house on Keywaden. And so what I did was I went through to find out who was the titled owner according to the auditor's office. It's owned by a LLC. I then went to the state, Ohio Secretary of State's office to find out who it was, and it turns out it's an attorney friend of mine. So I called him and I said, "What are you doing on Keywaden?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "That house has been sitting empty forever." It was his wife's mother's house. And so he indicated that before too long, you'll start to see activity there. So, and if you keep me apprised of that, I'll keep bugging him. I'm comfortable calling him and giving him a hard time. What are colleagues for? Well, everybody but my wife, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's on tape
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
That is on
That was
tape
on record.
forever.
You're supposed to see it in the minutes, because you just now told me.
Yeah, I talked to somebody and they told me that it was gonna go for sale this year.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Right.
Okay, reading and disposition of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve regular council meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023, please?
I'll move.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Discussion? Corrections? Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. We have no legislation at this time. Reports, mayor's report. All I want to say is that we did some spring cleanup today. By the way, we did go out a couple times and have to plow and salt. We didn't have to use our new truck because the salt spreader is not on it yet, but the old truck is working perfect now that we bought our new one. So we're all good with that, but that's good because when we do go to sell it, we can sell a truck that's in real good shape. So
It runs.
real well. So other than that, I do request people to please clean up their leaves in their yards. We've had a couple issues this year with residents not cleaning up their yards and the streets flooded out because the leaves would wash into the catch basins and plug them up. So we're gonna need some help on that. If a neighbor sees another neighbor that needs help and that neighbor can help each other out, but that would help a lot tremendously. We are gonna be going through the village, snaking out some of the lines, cleaning them out. I'm looking at buying a jetter so we can go out and use a sewer jet and with a root cutter on it to go and clean a lot of these lines out ourselves. So that's what I'm looking at next, but I'll propose that at the next meeting. Other than that, that's all I have for now. Mr. O'Leary, anything from the report on?
Yes, I just a couple things. I was going to bring up the Keywaden, but since we already addressed that. In your packet of things that we were going to talk about in the work session that we didn't get to was related to sort of paid time off for full-time employees. And we have one full-time employee. And on Saturday, the mayor and the police chief and the fiscal officer met to kind of talk about this very topic. And I think we need to, as a council, we need to adopt at some point, the package for a full-time employee. And I'm a little surprised it didn't happen when the chief was brought on full-time. But the fact is there should be something in place. Because the chief was the first full-time employee that I think that the village has ever had. So it was never an issue before. So I'm going to continue to work with Mr. Roskis, the mayor, and the chief on defining this so that this will come back to you again with a little more definition to it than what's been provided. What you received are basically policies from other different communities in order to be able to give you some background. But I think it is something that needs to be in place because the chief may not be the only full-time employee moving forward. So you'll want to make sure that you have that stuff there. That's all I have.
My understanding is that, and I don't know if it's appropriate, I asked the question, but my understanding is that it was to cover full-time and part-time employees, because that's what the early draft is talking about.
Well, I think that because of what he pulled, and I don't want to speak on Mr. Roskis's behalf, I'll let him speak for himself, but I think he was taking stuff from different communities and trying to meld it together.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to just address full-time employees. The part-time employee is really going to be a seasonal or a service person that's going to work 10 hours here, 10 hours there. But let me defer to Mr. Roskis and.
Sure. My idea was to put together a draft policy based on what some other villages in Ohio have done and what some of the state agencies follow, and just give council a template for a template draft that they could mark up and edit and get rid of whatever they didn't like or add what they would like. So it was just at a starting point, and that's all it is. There's no requirement to go forward with that particular draft.
Okay.
But from my perspective, I'd rather first start with the full-time employee, get that stuff straightened out, get it in our legislation or in our policy manual, and then you can always address others if it becomes necessary down the road. So anyway, that was in your packet. I just wanted to touch base on it, let you know that the mayor and the chief and Mr. Roskis and I have been working on that to some extent, and it's our hope that we can get that. Because right now it's mostly verbal, and it would be appropriate to have it in writing.
Agreed.
That's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Hardwick, Village Hall.
As you
Okay.
can see, we're nice and shiny, all brand new
Yeah, pretty.
paint job. The service guys did a great job getting it done, working around events that were planned and doing it in sections so that this was done for an event. Then a couple of days they had in between, and then they went and worked out in the lobby and in the bathrooms. So I want to thank them for that. They did a great job. I'm pleased. I hope everybody else is. I like it.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah. I spoke to Keith Wittersheim, who is the Timberlake Times editor, or editor, right?
Mhm.
And he says there's nothing much all he got to get put in the Times was information on, I guess, the bocce leagues. So, he just raises his hands. He says, I don't know what to put in it. I don't know what to fill it up with. So he's looking for ideas from people. I don't know if we want to
Give them
do,
the beach ordinance. That'll
you
give
go.
them.
Do we want to put,
What you asked for.
like, I think the Reader's Digest way back when, and maybe even still had in the back jokes and puzzles and
Is he looking for articles to be submitted?
articles to be submitted.
So I mean, that's something that
Yeah,
as
anything.
council people that you could do as far as, some of the stuff you'd like to do at the playground. Probably be good to put that in there so that people who have kids would maybe, call you and ask questions and maybe help.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
sure. Yeah, because he says there's hardly anything to put in there, so. The Village Club will be having their meeting on the 5th of April. And hopefully there will be a group that is stepping up so that the village club does not disintegrate and go away. So I'm happy to hear that. And it's official. We're going to have Timberlake Day at the Captain's Club,
Yay.
Captain's Game. That'll be the June 30th. And there'll be more information in the Times.
There you go. There's an article.
And I think after the Village Club has their meeting, I think more information will be coming out on that as well, price wise and things of that nature. So, there's various things that can happen that day. The mayor can throw out the first pitch, or if we have a designated council person who plays baseball, they may be throwing out the first pitch.
It's fun, Ryan. You should do it.
And they want somebody to sing the national anthem, right?
And we're trying to,
We already have
Not
that.
that guy, I promise.
we're trying, Keith Wittersheim again is part of a barbershop quartet. And
That would be
he
good.
says he and the guys maybe will come and do our
Oh, that'd be great.
national anthem.
That'd be great.
I need to call up there and ask the gentleman that we're working with, myself and Mary Beth Germano, about doing a 50-50 raffle. If this comes under Village Club, but I think that they may do their own.
They do. They have a 50-50
They do.
raffle every year.
Yeah, so I think we might have to hold off on that anyway, but it's going to be in the picnic pavilions. And
So
Is
there's
it
gonna be
$30 a
food?
person?
yes, there's gonna be food.
Oh, wow.
Cindy, isn't it $30 a person?
I think it's 40.
But that includes your ticket.
That's your
food,
ticket.
And fireworks.
Food, we asked him, did I say? Asked him
Southern draw.
to do it on a Friday night
Back in the heights.
So there'd be,
so that we could have the fireworks. And he said, absolutely. He would accommodate us for that. So, yeah, and it's a little bit, I think it's $40 a person. But you're not limited to one hot dog, like if you went and bought
all you
it.
can eat.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah,
all evening event for families.
right.
Chil-
Yes.
Children, do we know the price for children? Is it 12 and under free type of deal or
I will ask him about that as well.
Probably no.
I think-
$40 for an infant? That's.
Yeah.
You know, you pay it out.
40
Yeah.
seems high. We've done it in the past with my company. We had outings there that they were much more reasonable about. I guess it depends on the menu that you have. All of the tickets are essentially the same price, so that part doesn't enter into it. But we did have a discount for younger children, and I think it was 2 and under maybe were free.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I'll ask.
ironically enough, we have partial season tickets. And the 30th is one of our games, so
Oh.
we're already going to be there.
They'll be there
But
already.
I'm wondering, and maybe I'll be with you as you call them, but I'm wondering if we can just buy the food portion of it, because we already have tickets.
Oh,
So,
okay.
or maybe switch them so that we can sit with you guys. So
Well, it's,
June 30th, right? Either way.
June
Yes.
30th, yeah.
Everybody put it on the
Friday
calendar.
night of 4th of July weekend.
Say that again?
That is the Friday night of 4th of July weekend. Because 4th of July is the next Tuesday, so that would
Oh.
be the weekend that you'd celebrate 4th of July.
Oh, no.
and they're hoping to have a miniature golf course. There's new owners have taken it over. And of course, for the kids, there'll be all the
Bouncy houses.
bouncy houses and things, and they're hoping to have a miniature golf put in there too. So, plenty of things to do. And watch the Times. There'll be more info in there. And on the website, of
Just
course.
read the Times.
Just take it out of your mailbox.
Hi, Debbie. Read, get out of your mailbox.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Conrad,
All right.
okay, your turn.
So we talked a little bit about playground and park improvements and rehabbing the equipment we already have because it's more within the financial restraints of the village. So I think that's what we're leaning at, still more to be discussed, I think, and firm up, but just to share that. On the Grants Avenue, Mr. O'Leary, have you had a chance to look at the right of way language? Do you think, is that something we could?
We can make that work.
Okay, so potentially looking into starting to write up that Nature Works grant, then I'll dust it off and look at it again and see when it's due. I know it's coming up quickly. And, you know, if not this cycle, it's an annual grant. We can maybe have more time and get our ducks in a row and apply next cycle to be determined, but I'll look at it and see. I mean, I know, John, you looked at it, it's pretty in-depth grant, so doing it as our first big grant as a council and attempting to do it properly in a short time is probably not the best way for us to handle it, but I'll see when it's due and see how much time we have and potentially apply for that. The ODOT stuff for sidewalks and improvements of Lake Shore. There's a lot of bureaucracy that I'm working my way through. There's an organization called NOACA that is kind of the holder of those grants and the planning commission for any ODOT or federal funds that come through state of Ohio. They kind of get partitioned out into these organizations. And it's a challenge being a small village. I think we voiced our concerns with them about equity and equality and making sure that we get our portion. But we did get on apply for an amendment to have the sidewalk or multi-purpose trail added to what's called the TIP. So it's the Transportation Improvement Program. And once we're on that, it kind of opens the door to potentially getting state funding. So we have to get over that hurdle first, get on the TIP, and then we can get on the STIP, which is the State Transportation Improvement Program, and potentially tap into ODOT funding. That way, the other way is the program that I spoke with a gentleman on, which is kind of like in between, so safety improvements. And one of those that falls under that is closing the gaps on sidewalks. So there's a lot of gaps along Lakeshore where there are sidewalks, aren't sidewalks. So starting to fill that in. I haven't heard back from him in a while. I called him again, so I'll just keep bugging them and harassing them, and eventually he'll probably call me back. I think it's off cycle for that, so that's probably why he hasn't given me much time, because it's not that time of year for them to start planning for that yet. I was very early in the process, or early. The last year's had just ended when I talked to him the first time, so it's probably dealing with other stuff.
Maybe you're talking to WACA?
Talking to ODOT, so a gentleman at ODOT, District 12 Director, and I have his name somewhere I can pull out. But there's a program that you don't have to go the NOACA route for that, right? So the NOACA is for bigger projects through, you know, the federal funds that trickle down to the states. This is there's already funding in this. It's for, you know, safety improvements, smaller projects, or gap improvements of existing structures. Like we couldn't build a new road with that or resurface a road with that. It's more for pedestrian transit and safety signs and stuff of that sort. So they do it at the end of the year is when the cycle is. So we'll wait and see. And then I also spoke with Representative Joyce's office. So he's our congressman for United States House of Representatives, and their budget cycle for projects and calls for budget requests, OMB budget requests came out. So I did put in 2 requests, one for help getting funding for the sidewalks and one for beach stair improvements. They did not reach back out on the beach stair improvements, but they did reach out asking if we were on the STIP and if we had a tip number and all this. And I explained to him, no, we're not. We're in the process of getting it. And his legislative administrator said, well, that doesn't mean you can't get it. It's just a different process. So
You gotta come up with your own acronym.
Beers with beers.
Acronym, they start paying attention.
that's right. So many acronyms, but it's a way more convoluted process And NOACA throws a wrench in. And it's just another step to get into the.
And no beer.
Getting in contact with the right people is the biggest hurdle. And I think finally getting that far in the process. So we'll see. We can start to tap into it from there. But Representative Joyce may be able to pull through for us and put it on there. They did ask good questions and they were very receptive to it and on board with it. Just a matter if it fits within the plans. So we have now OMB requesting with the state and the federal government, so.
Ryan, I have a question if I could.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be prudent to put out something to all the residents on Lake Shore for and opposed
We could.
before we?
I know it was done previously, and this is, I guess, hearsay from residents on Lake Shore that are neighbors and people that I've talked to, but they did go door to door and everyone on Lake Shore was approved or didn't want it. It was when the street paving was going on. And it was just too much money that ended up getting cut from it. John may remember, we may be able to dig out the minutes from that period of time. But that's what I was told. But someone wants to go door to door and ask them, sure. I know everyone that I know that lives on Lake Shore, because I live on Lake Shore, has been strongly for it, so.
Would their favor include if they were responsible?
So, I don't know. Yeah, for the school buses and such, and maybe we could,
Mess up YouTube.
plow.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's gonna knock it all off.
But I don't think because people don't want to have to shovel it as a reason to not do it. I mean, it's unsafe up there. The mayor or the chief just witnessed, was it today?
Today.
A car going around a school bus or elevated speeds on it.
It was oncoming
Mhm.
and the lights were on, stop sign was out. I turned around on them, but I lost them. And they just kept right on. Luckily, the children were getting on the other side, but I was 3 cars behind the school bus and I thought, this guy gonna slow down?
Yeah, so it,
And kept on coming.
and I mean, the snow thing, I mean, the apartments across the street are responsible for those two, and they don't, I mean, they're the last thing to get shoveled. And
Oh, yeah.
very rarely do they anyway, so you're not, I mean, sure, it's an ordinance, we're not gonna force people like, hey, you're not shoveling your sidewalk, you need to get out there and do it, because there's just too many houses, and I'm sure many people won't do it. So in the middle of winter, you probably aren't gonna be walking Lake Shore sidewalk if it ever comes to fruition and we can get funding for it, but if those residents on Lake Shore wanna come to council or send something or get in contact with me. And if you're strongly for or opposed to it, please let me know. I'm just of the opinion that everyone I personally talked to, there's been zero opposition to it. It will be in the Times, in the minutes, it'll be reflected in the minutes, right, Chuck?
Oh, you should make a little article, yeah.
This is create more work for me, guys.
I think it needs to be in by this weekend, so if you want it in the very next one, I think Keith's deadline will be this weekend.
Then change your phone number.
So just put something. What?
Back in. I don't know what happened.
You're looking for pros and cons.
That's weird.
Yeah,
Mention it in the Times. If people follow it.
fair.
Or
I mean, anyone good language wise? I guess I could have been an English major with how many English classes I had to take in college, but so yeah, we could do that. We could put something in the Times.
Yeah.
I could write
It's like
a
it's,
quick paragraph up.
it's like it's fine.
That's a good idea. I have a feeling there'd be less opposed than for it, but I've been shocked before. That there was something about sewers, so Ralph called about his sewers. The mayor hit a good point of making sure we clean out those catch basins. we just continue to get hammered with rain this year.
Again tomorrow.
And I think all in all, the village is holding up pretty well for the amount of water we've taken on. There are some areas that are trouble and we've got them on the snake list. So, or a jet if we get that. So we'll see what comes from that. I think that's it from the grant front. I know I'm forgetting something, but that's all I got for now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jerry, Joyce.
Okay, I got an email, maybe all of you did, from NOPEC. Saying that they were looking to start re-enrollment. They have a listing of when the public meetings will be. So that people can attend. The meetings are about an hour long. I think that that's something we can give to the Times to publish as well. Closest one that I saw.
We could have it here, right?
No, they have them already
Oh,
spelled
okay.
out where they're going to do their meetings.
Okay, I didn't read it closely enough.
Closest one I saw was in Concord. And these are the scheduled meetings. Now,
Okay.
it's possible, I guess, if we contact them, that we could possibly have them come out. But you know, they're trying to, they're covering everything from Brecksville to,
Yeah.
you know, so they're all over the place. But at any rate, it's good news that they're looking to re-enroll people. Have the buying power of the large group, and it'll be again voluntary for people to either participate or not participate.
An email, Jerry, because I think I got one too. Maybe that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Okay.
that there's a chart as one of their attachments that could very easily be converted and put into the Timberlake Times.
I'll put it up on our website.
Okay, perfect.
I'll post it.
Perfect. The other thing I brought up last, and it turns out that, John, you were right. And make sure that that's recorded in the minutes, that John was right. About
Which John?
yeah, John Mara, the mayor. It was regarding the backflow valve that the Lake County Utilities Department was contacting me about. It turned out to be a sprinkler system that is really defunct on my property, and I could handle it two ways. One was to have them install this backflow valve so that it wouldn't come back in the event of flooding. And the other one was just to remove it all together and cap it, and which is exactly what I did. And so I called the utility department back again, and they are just going to send out an inspector one time to see that it is capped, and then we're all done. So it's not something, I was thinking that it was something that was going to affect a wide margin or a wide group of people in the village, and found out that that was not the case. So you were exactly right when you took a look at it and said, yeah, this is no big deal. So you were right.
Thank you.
And thank you to Cindy for pulling us together to look at options for the playground stuff, and Ryan for all the work that you've done on this. I think that and the mayor for his suggestions in terms of how we can fix it to make sure that it's safety compliant. You know, this is something that, you know, we do have young children in the neighborhood, and I think that it's something that we really are a little bit behind in terms of being able to do. And now that we have a little bit of money, this would be a good way to spend it. And again, thank you for all your work on that. That's it.
Thank you. Hey, Margaret Joyce.
Oh, I just want to reiterate Gary's thanks to Ryan and Cindy for all the legwork they've done, playground stuff, and if I want people like I can put together something for the time.
Okay.
And maybe a listen, you know, people have different opinions on the kind of thing, particularly depending on what age your kids are. And especially because our kids our great nieces are very small. The equipment we have is really more than they can manage.
So it'd be good to get maybe some input from people, sort of what kinds of things they're interested in seeing. Obviously, the cost is a huge piece of it, but, you know, it'd be great to have something for the little ones as weather. Input, so. Good.
Great, thank you. Okay. Nancy?
One other thing. Beach keys, please let's not wait till the weather is 89 degrees and you're coming at our house. Where's my beach key? If you, it's on the website, going to recreation, correct? And the drop down, find your beach key form. We do take at least 48 hours, should be more than 48 hours, to find out if you're an owner of the home. We check the auditor's website and then we issue a key for $10, a money order or a check. Please put it in the black metal mailbox at the tier to the outside the glass doors. Do it now, because usually I'll get a call and I'll be like heading out the door and they're like, we wanted to use the beach this weekend when I'm heading out the door. So do it now. And then you don't have to wait for that hot day. Wish we had a key to go to the beach.
I've had two police department in the last week.
Right.
knock on the door and ask me for the key.
Right, yeah, right. Well, we do check the website. We
Because I want to use the beach right now.
right. Oh, yeah, I know. And so they say, how long will it take? Well, we have to check the website. We check the auditors.
I just tell them 2 weeks.
It should be 2 days, but that's okay. Okay. And we have to stamp
But
the
go
key
on the website and follow the instructions.
and
And
print out the form.
the form goes in the black box and I show them the black box.
Thank you. You print out the form. And so I just don't want anyone to be upset when you've already had your family outing planned when they come to Mr. Timberlake to go down to the beach. So please, go on the website and we'll get it to you.
Question, do you allow owners to have more than one key?
No,
One key
Per
to
per family.
house? Okay. And I like the chief's idea that you under promise and over perform, so.
Well, I was worried about how long the mayor has to take to cut the key. I know you can do all the paperwork, but he's got to have the key cut.
Yeah, the key cutting is pretty fast. I used to work a key machine at,
Oh, well, I misstated something.
no, it's okay.
but we really do check the auditor's website. So I want people to know it's not like we pick and choose who we give a key to.
Exactly.
Okay, we really do. I ran into somebody at a political luncheon the other day. And I said, yeah, I own the Timberlake and you wouldn't let my renter have it. And I said, well, that's right, would. But you see who I was talking to? She goes, well, I do rent. I do own the home and I understand why. And I live in California. And I couldn't get in time. And so,
Okay.
we do check. We do make sure that we do protect our beach for whatever the ordinance says and we do uphold it.
I had a similar experience. I went to my dermatologist. I also have Irish skin, and so I have to worry about exposure to the sun. So I was at the dermatologist and saw my address and said, "Oh, Timberlake. Yeah, that's the one where they don't let anybody go down to the beach."
Yes.
Great.
That's the reputation.
And this is in Mayfield Heights. So our reputation precedes us, so.
Just we're just following the law.
Like when I say Kirtland Hill.
Okay, is that it? Okay,
Oh, okay, but and thank you for people that are gonna be there May 5th, April 5th, right, Cindy, for the Village Club? They'll be electing new officers. It's not gonna go away. And so please, everybody, even if you don't want to be an officer, April 5th, the meeting will be here, so Cindy.
Yeah, meeting will be here 7 o'clock. Yeah,
Is that
come
a
in.
Tuesday? April 5th?
It's Wednesday, I believe.
And we could just proceed with a lot of good events coming up. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you. Nothing really new to report regarding trees. We've had some really windy days recently. And I was thankful. I did my rounds and I drive around the village and there was nothing, no hazards or large limbs in the road or anything like that. So that's very good. So hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the season. I also wanted to make a couple of acknowledgements. Cindy, Ryan, I don't want to give them a big head. They've been thanked so much already, but they did do a lot of legwork for the parks. So that's good. And the mayor thinks he and the service department can save us $5,000 if they do some in-house refurbishing. So I wanted to give them some acknowledgement there.
Thank you.
And then also over the last couple of months, there was a large tree that came down near the center of the village, 17 Owase. And the village took care of the large, I believe it was a maple, And we paid for it because it was hazard. The mayor, the police and the tree department, we determined that we should take care of that, even though it was on private property. But there was also some pine trees that were taken away by the same contractor, and unbeknownst to us at the time, the resident who lived there actually paid $400 to have those removed. So we did want to acknowledge that he did do that. So, but other than that, that's it on my end. Thank you.
Mary, if I could, I knew I was forgetting something. So I just wanted to let council know that I did go to the School of Innovation, I was there a month and a half ago now. And I got this really nice package of probably 35 letters from each of the kids. Thank you letters. So I want to thank the school and the kids for sending those in. Got some light reading to do when I get home.
Oh, real quick, speaking of school, the school boards are 3 seats up in Wilby Eastlake. When the next election comes up, they need 3 new school board members. Please don't forget about that. The school system still needs us, needs our voice. And they have our tax dollars, so they should be listening to our voice. 3 seats coming up. Consider running.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, fiscal officer report, Mr. Rasmus.
Our general fund ending balance through February 28 is at $228,474. Our month-to-date revenue for February was $42,200 versus expenditures of $38,702, and net surplus for the month of $3,497. Expenditures were slightly less than estimates by about $300. Payroll was higher than expected due to more hours worked by hourly police employees, and we expect this trend to revert to normal in the next in March and going forward. Our general fund revenue through February 28 is about $14,604 higher than last year. This is primarily due to increased income tax collection. Our revenues in February exceeded projections by approximately $3,700. Although it is early in the year, so this could change. We estimate another surplus for the general fund of around $111,230. This would not include additions to Village Hall or police cruiser capital funds at the end of the year. Other significant fund activity and miscellaneous. We completed the purchase of our new service truck, a 2022 Chevy Silverado, with a payment to Classic Auto Group of $12,163. This was paid for out of the Service Truck Capital Fund 4902. The plow package was also installed by Best Truck Equipment at a cost of $6,799, and this was also paid from Fund 4902. Only $200 in refunds were issued from the 9901 Hall Rental Security Deposit Refund Fund, and there was no significant activity in other funds.
Good, thank you. Okay, police chief, report please.
We had one 911 call. We had 2 administrative assistant calls. We had 4 assist calls. We had 1 breaking and entering in a vehicle call. We had 2 civil complaints. We had 35 community policing actions, 130 house checks, 12 investigations, 1 mental health call, 1 phone complaint, 3 property complaint calls, 1 scam call, 1 suspicious circumstances, 2 suspicious vehicles, 1 theft, 1 traffic issue, 1 welfare check, for a total of 199 calls.
Okay, thank you. Okay, zoning property maintenance. Gary. Please turn the mic on.
We had 2 permits written, only one for a contractor registration and one for a kitchen remodel. But I gotta tell you, as a realtor, though, I keep getting calls for wanting to know if we have point of sale yet. And we keep putting that off and putting it off. But I don't know if we'll ever get to it. Huh? we should talk about that.
Well, we would have to pay someone in that position to do these, and they need someone qualified to be certified.
Well, I mean, we talked about doing a safety check inside each house and charging for that. And then giving them an occupancy permit. Something we could look at.
We
Should
have to
look
make
at.
them Qualified and actually licensed to do it.
Yeah. But we can do safety checks. We don't need anyone qualified to do a safety check. But
Right.
still, we'd have to do that and all the paperwork.
Right, okay.
So, but, yeah, it's something to set up, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, purchases and approvals. Do I have a motion to approve the February 2023 financial reports, please?
So moved.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Joyce seconds. Okay, discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve payment to Charles Harris and Associates, the auditors, in the amount of $8,576 for 80% of our 2021-2022 audit?
Make a motion.
Mr. Mara makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Thompson seconds. Discussion?
Is the 80%, what does the 80% mean, John?
So they basically mean that they've completed 80% of the hours towards our 2021-22 audit. The price for the audit is set by the state of Ohio. They actually, initially what they did is they asked for proposals for our 2021-2022 audit, and as well as the two audits after that. So the state of Ohio auditor received only one proposal for our village and several other entities in this area. And they basically set the price based on our past audits. And of course, the 2018 and 19 period was obviously a very difficult period. So they assumed there would be some difficulties this time around. So they basically charged us based on that, on those possibilities. So there's really, I actually complained to the state auditor about the cost, but they didn't even look at adjusting it. But so the total cost will be about $11,000, but this is for the 80% of hours they've done to date. So they were here for 3 days at the beginning of March, end of February. And then they also, so the rest of their work has been offsite and it all done remotely. So.
Okay, so we can expect that after getting through the difficulties, and I deal with an organization where they have, you know, essentially a 3-year rolling average in order to determine what the due structure is. Can we assume that once that clears out, that we're going to see a more reasonable amount going forward, or is this pretty much going to be the standard?
I believe the subsequent audits are expected to be less costly, but they're still pretty high.
Okay.
So I wouldn't expect
A
much
big
less than
difference?
$8,000.
Okay,
We are gonna owe 100% of that.
Correct. There's really no way around that.
We have to pay them now. We can just pay them at the end.
We might be able to pay them at the end, but the state auditor already approved the invoice for payment.
okay.
They didn't ask me at all. They just approved it. So.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now I'll move on to public comment questions again. Anyone else? Please.
Debbie King, 43 East Shore Boulevard. I thought there was talk at one time about putting in a bike lane on Lake Shore Boulevard. Whatever happened to that? And I think the state was going to pay it, wasn't it? Weren't they?
So that is what this is part of. So they, on the current NOAC, site, they had it going from Euclid to the end of Lake County, all the way to Roberts Road and stopping. So what we're asking for is our part of that, right? So instead of stopping at Roberts Road right up here, that in Lakeline or right before Lakeline, they weren't gonna do Lakeline. They include Lakeline and us. So they call it a bike lane, but if you just extend out the road on a bike lane, that's no safer than what's already there, right? Like there was just a kid got hit and killed on the bike lane over in East Lake. And there's our painting. So to me, those aren't safety improvements. They need to be a dedicated, like what they call a multi-purpose trail. So I think that's more what they're envisioning, the multi-purpose trail is trying to offset from the road. So that it's not right on. Right on. Correct. We had to have no active approval and have to put it on there. Program.
Master plan.
Master plan, yeah. So that's what we're asking for currently is to have that multi-purpose trail or sidewalk or whatever NOAC's vision is. And I think that is part of it, is what they call a multi-purpose recreational trail.
So the sidewalk or this multi-purpose trail is going to be set back from?
If we have our way with it in it, yeah. I mean, what's the benefit of putting a bike trail, which is just a painted line right on the side of a state route that's 35 miles an hour? It's not any safer.
But are we going to have our way? I mean,
I don't know. That's what we're asking for. I mean, that's the
Okay.
goal. We don't know. They might tell us no.
Very big, very big organization.
Yeah, it's not a.
Oh, John Hammerstein. President.
He's the president.
Yeah.
Give him a call.
But like, if you've seen some of the ones in like Menor that are like, there's a little strip of grass or a little curb before it, like you have to have some kind of it's not like it's in a residential neighborhood or on a back road, like it's a main thoroughfare. So you gotta have some separation or there's no, it's almost riskier to ride your bike on there. It's just a painted. It is, that's where someone got hit, right? It's a painted line. It doesn't stop you from crossing it, going over it, so. It'd be more like, I mean, I know the one on 91 is a big thing with the fence and something like that, but more of a, a little bit wider than a sidewalk or a sidewalk width that's set back with maybe a grass strip or a curb of some sort. To protect or have some demarcation more than just a painted line. Is how I envision it. Now, it doesn't mean that's their vision or their plan.
but if enough of us not complain, but talk about it to them, they may see it your way.
We have some big meetings coming up. I'll tell you the dates of those meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's so there's two reasons, right? It's active transport, right? So like alternate modes of transport they want to push, right, for health reasons and
It's all about
it's
climate change.
too, right? So
They want it so that we could do CO2 emissions.
yeah, you're riding a bike, you're not putting off CO2. You're not driving places. It's
15
part of
minutes
their
out.
argument.
Serious?
That's far-fetched for me. You're not really saving much. You're
Look
not
up the
commuting to
15-minute city. Look up the 15-minute city.
yeah, you're not commuting to work on Lake Shore. Most people, I mean, some people might ride their bike to work, but it's more for, recreation and
Show them you
Being
want to
able to
reduce
access
CO2 and
the
they might talk to you.
I'll show them my
accessing-
compost pile.
They're speaking their language.
rain barrel.
Okay. And my rain barrels. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. I don't, I'd say we're a little ways out, at least a year or two at minimum, getting anywhere with no act on the state in that grant program. Now, if the other safety sidewalk gap improvement program works, that may be a little quicker, but it's gonna be a slow, arduous, painful process. is what I envision.
I'm glad you're sitting there and doing that. Street signs that are down.
We're at,
Um,
oh, you mean those? Yeah, we're gonna get those. The one up on Wobbin.
Yes.
Yeah, that one, it's bent, someone hit it. We have the sign, the service has it. We just haven't put it up yet. We have to actually get it straightened out the pole first.
Okay.
So we'll be repairing that one, and there's another one at the end of Woburn we have to fix too, and keep waiting. Yeah. Oh, they will have to, okay.
Oh, really? Oh. Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were working on it.
Oh, okay. I didn't walk down that far on my second
Drive
walk.
around a
On the
lot.
first walk I did, but, okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. So do I have a motion to, we need to enter the executive session to consider compensation and benefits of a public employee. So do I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Make a motion.
Nancy Meyer makes a motion, Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce. Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you.
meetings are on the YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel.
Not the executive.
No, that,
Yeah.
it gets,
But we have to adjourn the original meeting still.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
that's what we're doing. We all set?
Okay, all set. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn, please.
Make a motion?
Kyra makes a motion, Mrs. Mara seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. It is 8:25. We are adjourned and next regular meeting will be Tuesday, April 18th at 6:30 PM. Have a good evening. Thank you.